Going up. There we go. So I want to say thank you for showing up here in Suffolk County. If you want to clap, you should clap right now so we can hear you. There we go. So why would I want to come here and talk to you? One of the most important things that we worry about is cost of living. That matters to me because some of you may not know this. I was born in Manhattan. And then as a little kid, I was raised in the Bronx. But as a teenager, I was in Suffolk County. I was on Long Island. I graduated out of Central High School. That's the high school I graduated out of. So I know Suffolk County. Now, the funny part is when I came out to Suffolk County from the South Bronx, which is where I was as a kid, I thought I was living in the woods. I thought Central High School I was going to get like eaten by a bear or something. And for those who know CI, there's no bears in CI. But that's what I thought. But why does that matter to you? Because my father had to work hard to actually be able to get us out here to Long Island. I grew up in the South Bronx in the 70s, which some of you know was not the best neighborhood. My father was both a cop and then a corrections officer. He did the thing, most people were the opposite. They were corrections officer, then cop. My father did the opposite. He went cop, then corrections officer. He was actually a corrections officer, believe it or not, in Rikers Island. And so he went from that, and that still wasn't enough money to get us out. My mom had to work. She worked part-time with me, actually, with cleaning houses. And my father was a part-time DJ in the 70s, the Bee Gees and John Travolta in that time. So he was a DJ. We raised enough money to actually get a house here on Long Island. And if you can imagine what it was like, at that time, our interest rate, our mortgage interest rate, was 13%. Some of you remember, some of you have some gray hair, remember that. Yes, that's what it actually was back then. But the thing that was tough for us was cost of living. That's what was hard. We were paying rent in the Bronx, and it was the Bronx. And we struggled to get out of the Bronx to move on to Long Island. It took both of my parents to have 2 jobs. They both worked and each had a separate job to get us out here to a nicer place. But, Central Islip, it's not the greatest neighborhood in the world. It was good. Compared to South Bronx, it was amazing. But still, it was cost of living. And you would think, okay, Larry, that was 40 years ago. It hasn't changed. It's got worse. And for people to survive here on Long Island, they have to have 2 jobs. They still do. Kids have to live with their parents still, which means there's another job in the house. And one of the biggest issues we deal with when it comes to that, believe it or not, is something as silly as taxation. When you ask people why they leave, and they do leave, and they're leaving Long Island like there's no tomorrow, you see it? And who's leaving more than anything else? 2 types, the youth and the retirees. Those 2 are fleeing. They're fleeing Long Island left and right, the youth and retirees. Retirees are going to Florida because that's the law, I think. I'm not sure, but I think that's the law. Anyway, and the youth are going every place else, not here. They're just leaving. They're going all over the place. Many of them are going to Texas, believe it or not. A lot of them are going to Texas, Tennessee. They're going over there. They're leaving. So what are you going to hear if some Democrat was up here telling you? Democrat would say something like this. Well, that's because we have to tax the rich, and then everything would work out magically. What will Republicans say? Well, we have to invest in something or other, and Democrats bad. They'll say that. That's what they say. New York State is a blue state. So Republicans just go, Democrats bad. If we were in Oklahoma, it's a red state. So, because I care. Yes, so Democrats go, Republicans are bad. That's all they do. Whatever party's not in charge just says other guys bad. And whatever party's in charge is full of bad ideas. So what do we have right now in our state? Democratic Party is the party of bad ideas. Republican Party is the party of no ideas. So what gets fixed? Nothing. Can we change it? We can. Taxation is a big deal. It's a huge chunk of it. Well, how do we fix it? We're just going to lower taxes. I hear it all the time. We'll lower taxes. That makes sense, right? You guys love that. We'll lower taxes. Sounds good. But if you lower taxes, does anything actually get solved? No. Either someone else picks up that tax burden, right? Not you, because they lowered this tax and they raise the other tax. Or we have more debt, or they've got to start using law enforcement as a profit center. I don't want law enforcement as a profit center. I want law enforcement getting bad guys. But they want it becoming a profit center. It's not the good thing to do, particularly out here. We don't want that. Because it won't just be cops doing it. Remember, law enforcement isn't just cops. Corrections officers, parole officers. Law enforcement's a whole lot of people. And now you start making it to where now the DEC has cops now too. So now that now becomes a police force, which is not made to help you, but made to collect money. I don't want that. So I have a crazy idea. This is the new crazy idea. We are going to, there are many of them. Yes, this is the new one though. This is the new crazy idea. We are now going to create a VAT. Larry, you mean a VAT tax? No, I don't. We're going to create a volunteer assistance trust. What does that mean? It's a fund for New York State that is similar to what's done in Norway, Singapore, other places, run by a separate company, not run by New York State, because if it's run by New York State, you know what happens, right? We lose it, yes. Remember how all that lottery money was going to go to education? Remember that? Yeah, you're all laughing. That all got sucked right in. Nope, separate companies are going to run this fund. We will take a certain amount of cash out of our tax base, put it to support that fund, and we will raise, I'm not joking, we will raise almost $1 trillion in a couple of years. We will make one of the largest funds that there is, supported by the power of the financial institutions in New York State that we will now keep. And that will begin to pay for some of the most important things. First thing is education. Larry, you were talking about taxes. Why in the world are you talking about education? Here's the reason why. New York State Constitution says we have to pay for grades 1 through 12. In New York State, education is a right. So we must pay for it. Okay, we'll pay for it. But we'll pay for it directly from the state. How? Through this trust. When a trust pays for education, why do we need school tax? We don't. You can actually pay for education directly from the state through a trust without raising one bit of tax. Eliminate school tax, which for most people across this state will lower their property tax by about 50%, give or take, depending upon where you are in the state. Imagine if all of a sudden you lowered your property tax 50% without having to pay anything extra, without losing anything. You just 50% decrease. Number one thing that happens, rent stabilizes. When rent stabilizes, the youth can stop fleeing Long Island. They might actually stay. Maybe some could actually move out of their parents' house when they actually want to move out, not have to stay because they can't afford it. The youth could stay. You could have your homes back. Number two, retirees might stay. That'd be nice. What happens when you actually own your home when you retire? Well, you're still paying 5 figures every year in property tax. Cut that in half. You might actually stay. And you might do what I want you to do, which is spend your pension in this state. That's what I want you to do. I'm so tired of people packing up and spending their pension in other states. I'm not mad at them. It's our fault for having a bad state. It's our fault. We should fix our state so that people want to spend their pensions in this state. I want you to retire here. Spend your money here in this state. We're paying the taxes, put it back into our local economy. That's what I want. All of a sudden now they begin to stay. But something else happens. Now the average person who has a family goes, wait a minute, I've got some extra cash. Maybe I don't have to have that second job if I don't want it. I mean, if I have that second job, I can spend that money doing something else. But I feel better and I want to stay. It isn't just cost of living. The part that goes along with that is if my cost of living is so high, I can't do the things that I like and I lose my lifestyle. New York State's an amazing state. It's a diverse state. Biggest city in the entire country. Beautiful mountains, hunting, fishing, skiing, Niagara Falls, you name it. Whatever you want in this state is here. But if you can't afford to go to it, well, then what value does it have? But if your cost of living is lower and you can enjoy the awesome things about New York State, then all of a sudden you want to stay. The goal we have to look at is not cutting taxes. That's a good thing, but not a goal. The goal isn't better schooling. That's nice, but not a goal. The goal is happy New Yorkers. I'm not joking. That sounds silly, I know. But I would ask you, what politician talks about happiness? Only me. I talk about happiness because happy New Yorkers grow their careers here. Happy New Yorkers don't move. Happy New Yorkers get educated here, build businesses here, retire here. I want happy New Yorkers. The happier they are, the better off we are. If they're really happy, the people you saw walk away come back. Right now, you know this. New York State's wonderful. Our government sucks. Our government is so oppressive, it literally breaks up families. Literally. You have all seen people you love leave this state. You'll have. My mother couldn't retire here. She had to go to South Carolina. That's where she died. She couldn't stay here. Too expensive. The oppression of this state broke up my family and broke up many of your families. I don't want that anymore. Happy New Yorkers. So the first thing we're going to do is change how we fund education so that we can cut that property tax in half so that people can stay. But I'm not done. I'm going to support the youth and the retirees. This is youth retiree time. Retirees, do something else. You're 65 years old in New York State, and you have owned a home in New York State for at least 15 years. Your property tax goes down 5% at 65 and 5% every year to 85. We have no property tax. 5% drop every year from 65 on, as long as you've owned a home in New York State for 15 years. And go, Larry, that's great, but what if I move in with my kids? If you reside with your kids, that same piece goes to your kids. They get the same discount. Why don't we leave more New York? Why don't we leave more retirees at home? Why don't we have more retirees staying home? Why don't I give the kids an incentive to take care of their parents at home? Why don't I do that? You want to go to a home? Go to a home. You do what you do you. But I'm going to give your kids the opportunity, if you want, for them to take care of you in their home, if you want to stay home, or they move into your home. Whatever's going to work for you. I want you to have options. And when you get older or your parents get older and you want to pass away in your home, you can if you want to. And if you don't, that's okay too. But New York State can support that. I want retirees staying in this state, and I want them spending their pensions in this state. And we can do it. We can make it to where they understand they're valuable, they're wanted, and they can stay here. But Larry, what about the youth? They're important too. They are. I'm not young anymore, but it's fine. Some of you are still young. I want to change your education. There was someone here running talking about education. I love it. Education is critical. And what you will hear every Democrat say, education is so important. We got to fund education. That's the answer. We got to fund it because it's underfunded. What will Republicans say? Well, we just need school choice. That solves the answer. School choice is everything. That is the most important thing. Our education system is a steaming pile of crap. That's what it is. Funding it is a colossal waste of time. Giving it any more money is embarrassing. It is a disaster. It shouldn't exist. We need a fundamental change. We should go, instead of K through 12, to K through 10. I'm not joking. 10th grade. Once you are 16, you take a test. You pass that test, you have a high school diploma. You're done. But Larry, what about the Regents diploma? Absolutely and utterly useless. That Regents diploma is absolute garbage, should have never existed, shouldn't exist. No politician will tell you that. They will all say how important it is. It means nothing. Nobody cares if you have a Regents diploma or not. This has never happened. You check the resume here. What? New York State Regents diploma? You are hired. Never happened ever. Never will happen. Nobody cares. Colossal waste of time, money, and energy. Goes away. But Larry, what about those last 2 years? Here's what we do. I have to pay for those 2 years. And I should. It's in the Constitution. When I was in the Marine Corps, when I got out, some veterans are here. You know, when you got out, you had the GI Bill. GI Bill said you get X dollars, you have X years to use those dollars. New York State's going to give you $20,000, 5 years to use it. Good luck. And I go, Larry, that's a lot of money. No, it isn't. We spend $28,000 per kid per year right now. Now it's only $10,000. That's cheap. We're saving $56,000. Well, hold on. $36,000. My math was off. We're saving $36,000. It's a massive savings. You might go, Larry, then what about all the schools? What are we going to do? You've got choices. You're 16. You now have a high school diploma. What do you want to do with your life? Well, I think I want to go to trade school. Go to trade school. What's wrong with that? There'll be a bunch of trade schools popping up here. 2-year trade schools. Guess how much those 2-year trade schools will cost? $20,000. Yes, it's correct. Because that's what you're going to get. That's what they'll cost. I'll guarantee it. And banks will give tons of loans to build it. Why? It's guaranteed government money. Literally, banks love nothing more than guaranteed government money. That is their number one thing they love. So there'll be a bunch of trade schools popping up. Larry, do I want my kid going to trade school? Yes, you do. Yes, you do. 100%. In New York State, the average tradesman is 50 years old. The average should not be 50. I'm in my 50s. I'm mad at 50-year-olds. I'm mad at the average. The average is like 35. The 50-year-old should not have the hammer in his hand. He should be training the 30-year-old, right? He shouldn't have the hammer in his hand. But in today's world, he does. Or what does he do? He has to get foreign labor. Because the only people he can use is foreign labor. But what if our youth was actively doing it? Many of them want to. Well, Larry, if they want to, why don't they? Because the current system is broken. You know this if you've been in school recently. Go to a guidance counselor and ask a guidance counselor, I'm thinking about going to BOCES. Yeah, you're laughing. What do they always say?
College.
Yes, they want to. Yeah, BOCES is for the dumb kids. That's what they say. BOCES is for the bad kids. What they say. You know it. I'm not making this up. Find other politicians who will tell you that. That's what they're saying. Why do they want to push you into college? Because of federal funds. Federal funds gives that school money based upon the amount of kids they place into college. It's all about the money grab. But if I'm now giving money from the state and I've cut my K through 12 to K through 10, the federal government will say, Larry, I don't like that. Governor Sharp, it's a bad idea. And they will cut my federal funds. They will cut $6 billion from me, which is what it is, $6 billion. But I won't care because I just saved more than that in my 11th and 12th grade. I made that money up. So I lose no money. I can tell the federal government to go away. We can still do K through 10. And if your kids want to go to a trade school, they may. It's okay, they can go. But not just that. When that happens, do I need all those administrators the federal government requires? I don't. The average administrator in this state makes over $150,000 a year. Some make $200,000 or $300,000 a year. There's one, if I remember, makes over 400. There's more than that, but I can remember at least one makes over $400,000 a year. The average teacher, 80,000. Skewed by New York City, obviously, but 80,000 is the average. Imagine if you can get rid of a bunch of administrators. If you're an administrator watching this, you probably shouldn't vote for me. If you're a teacher watching this, you're a fool if you don't. Because my entire plan is let teachers teach. Remove administrators, let teachers teach. Less administrators. I won't do any firing. But once I give and provide an actual surplus to every school district, which is what this plan will do, give them all a surplus, and not require them right now, the rule is please don't know, if they don't spend their money, they lose it. So they have to spend it. So we're begging them to be corrupt and wondering why they're corrupt. We're begging them to be corrupt and wonder why they're corrupt. This system, you get your money every year. If you don't spend it, save it. Save it. It's fine. You're funded a whole different way. No strings from the federal government, no strings from the state government. All I require as a governor is transparency. That's what I require. You get paid based on how many kids are in your district. What does that mean? That means money follows the kid, doesn't it? Money follows the kid. Not just that. $4,000 stipend if you want to homeschool your kid or if you want to go to private school. Guess how much private school costs? $4,000. Because this is what it costs. So now I'm opening up more private schools, allowing for more homeschooling, allowing for better schooling, allowing kids to move, lowering property tax by a half, and letting kids at 16 make some choices in their life. Because here's the worst part of all for the kids. If you've been in school recently, you know this to be true. What is 12th grade? Yeah, you're laughing, because it is. 12th grade is video games, smoking weed, and study hall. That's what 12th grade is. And we wonder, oh, you laughing, you know, yes. So yes. So then we wonder, why does it take 6 years for our kids to graduate college? Because they're not ready? Because they've been smoking weed and playing video games for the last 2 years? Their study habits are garbage? So they're not ready for it? You want to go to college? No worries. 11th and 12th grade, go to a 2-year prep school. Go to a 2-year prep school so that you know what to do when you get into college. Maybe you can graduate a year too early. Wouldn't that be nice? Save you some money. You're the smart kid. You're the kid who can pass the SATs and get the 1600. You're the smart kid. Go to college immediately. Get an associate's degree. Get an associate's degree one time you're 18. Again, save yourself 2 years of college. Life is good. Or guess what? Get a job. Go to work. But Larry, you want 16-year-old kids working? What are they gonna? get caught and die in a loom accident. Is that going to happen? This is in the 1800s. It's not going to happen. They're going to be working in some office somewhere or whatever, or maybe in some, I don't know, some warehouse or something. It's fine. Let the 16-year-old kids learn what a work ethic is. Let them learn it when they're 16. Let them know what it means that when the boss says come in at 8, he doesn't mean 9:30. He means 7:45. Let them learn that when they're 16, not when they're 26. We wonder why we have kids at 24 years old, been in college 6 years, have $100,000 in debt, no work ethic, and why they're unhappy. We set it up. Now, again, I go back to the Bosse's piece. That's for the dumb kid, right? Bosse's for the dumb kid. Well, that kid becomes a plumber. That kid's 24 years old, no debt, making at least $70,000 a year, if not more, maybe $100,000, depending on where they are, and no debt. His friend who got pushed off into college, he's 24, no work ethic, $100,000 in debt, working at Starbucks. Who's the dumb one? Right? Who's the dumb one? I think they got it wrong. Let's let kids be kids. But Larry, we do this crazy thing you're talking about. If we do this, then 16-year-olds have to make decisions and they'll make mistakes. Yes, they will. And they'll make mistakes at 16 when the cost of failure is nothing compared to the cost of failure at 26. When you make a mistake at 26, that could be devastating. Make a mistake at 16, mom and dad are still here. You'll be fine. You'll get over it. You'll be fine. And you'll figure out some stuff and you'll move on. But you'll get some work experience early. You'll get a work ethic early. For those of you who hire people, I tell this story often. People always go, Larry, you don't understand. You got to have a college degree to get a job to be successful. That's a lie. That's been a lie for years. And we keep telling that lie. If you hire people, you don't care if they have a degree or not. You care if they have a work ethic. That's what you care about. The amount of people who've told me, Larry, I'll hire anybody with a work ethic. I can't believe it. I had one guy tell me a story. He said, Larry, here's my entire process for hiring people. I tell them the interview is 8 o'clock. I open the door at 8 o'clock. If they're actually there, they're hired. And then I told that story during another event. And a guy at the event said, Larry, I got to tell you, I had 12 appointments last week. 6 were no-shows, 4 were late. He had 2 out of 12 show up on time. This is our fault. I'm not blaming others. It's not a funding issue or an investment issue or a school choice issue. It's a systemic change we have to make that will make our youth happy, that'll make our retirees happy, that'll make the cost of living lower, will make this state better so that people will stay. Happy New Yorkers is a better New York. Happy New Yorkers is a happier New York, a more prosperous New York, and most importantly, a new New York. Thank you. Okay, yes, guys, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you all for watching.